Alienation is when the work people do gets separated from the purpose or goal of the work itself. So the first question would be, what is work? Work, as we will refer to it here, is any human activity done with the intention of improving human life, allowing humans to live more healthy and happy, as opposed to a human activity like theft, for example. The work you do cleaning your family bathroom can have a sense of pride and purpose. Laziness is a separate matter. This is because you want to live in a cleaner space or provide a nice place for guests or whatever your motivation is in doing unwaged work in some space you identify with. Compare this to the work of an exploited worker who cleans toilets for 8 to 12 hours per day in a restricted corporate office building in order to avoid starvation and homelessness. While they might still find some pride and purpose in this work, in most cases, this work will be experienced as alienating. Now, alienation has been a huge cause of suffering since long before capitalism. People have been talking about it in different terms, of course, all over the world long before Marx chose this word to describe it. To refer to a few I myself found examples in, Confucian, Taoist, Buddhist, and even Platonic traditions all speak of the severe reduction of quality, both quality of life and quality of work, suffered due to the conditions Marx describes as alienation. Regardless, the fact is that just as capitalism has made resource production more abundant than at any point in human history, so has it made work more alienating than at any point in human history. You may ask, if resources have become more abundant, where are they at? How is there still so much pain? People still starve, live without housing, healthcare. Where are all these extra resources going? This question has been answered in great detail by hundreds of great people in the past couple hundred years at least. What we're focusing on here is the fact that even if people had access to all the resources they need, they would still suffer, most of all, from alienation. How can this be? The cause of alienation is commodity fetishism. Let's break this down. A commodity is any result of our work changing something for some purpose. This includes both items and services. If I clean a toilet, I have changed it for some purpose, and this change is a commodity. If I produce a toilet brush, I have changed the shape of some plastic for some purpose. This change is a commodity. In both cases, we can see the value comes from the work we do, and the purpose or use value we do it for. The use value is often just the value of more work. We use the brush to clean the toilet. We use the clean toilet to make shitting nicer. And we shit to live, just as we eat to live, work to eat, and create tools to make that more easy. We can see in this more direct view how the value is nothing apart from our work and the purpose of our work. We build roads because we need to connect different communities, because we need their medicine, and they need our food. We do things because we need to change things because we need them for other things. We mine iron because we need to process it, because we need tools to do other things. We grow apples because we need to eat them, because we need energy to do other things. It is a perfect wheel of interdependence. Except it isn't, because of an illusion, commodity fetishism, or the idea that the things we change through our work themselves have value. Fetishism here is the traditional meaning, the belief that a specific object or concept has some innate value or power over human beings within it. Obviously, commodities have no value other than the human activity it takes to produce and use them. So how does this illusion occur? For example, let's say 10 apples is worth 1 pound of iron. So we make a trade. But what about when the apple farmer doesn't need any more iron? Should he just starve to death? The ancient solution to this was often, as opposed to the repeatedly debunked myth of a barter system, sharing resources as a community. If a community member's work contributes to a common purpose, then they have as much right to the common purpose as any other member. What is that common purpose? To live as healthy and happy as possible. This may sound subjective to the self-worshipping culture of most English speakers, but any other definition would be in contradiction with humanity as a species. And I don't see any purpose in debating human values with enemies of humanity. As class divides develop through warfare and cunning, some people start taking way more resources than they need and take violent action to control those who don't have enough. To avoid the obvious solution to this, the empathetic organizing against the selfish, money developed. Now, this isn't exactly true. Different kinds of vague placeholders for some general share of resources were developed in many of the ancient societies we were referring to before, but I wouldn't call these money in the same sense as the much more exact and fetishized placeholder which came as class has developed. Since commodities have no value other than the human activity that interacts with them, alienation is an essential way for the ruling class to control the workers who outnumber them. If the worker has no control or ownership over the purpose of their work, or the purpose it contributes to, they have to depend on the ruling class's placeholder value, or money, to get the resources necessary to survive, much less live healthy and happy. Most workers do not work in shared community space, and most industrial workers, especially in the exploited third world, do not even produce anything for their community directly. Thus, work loses all purpose, all satisfaction beyond the resource placeholder received as a wage. To use the example from before, instead of spending 30 minutes cleaning your family's bathroom during a series of daily tasks, you are forced to spend your life cleaning bathrooms so your family can barely pay bills. In some forms of work, such as art, writing, music, or sculpting, we never lose the sense of the worker's ownership of the result. No matter who pays for it, we recognize a movie by Tarantino will always have a value he created. Or perhaps we recognize the crucial role of an actress in making that movie have the value it does, and understand the value that she created will always be hers. But the iPhone Apple calls theirs and you call yours is likewise a product of human work, the work of a human whose family likely sacrificed their lifespan suffering pollution for a wage. Why is the value of their labor not theirs? And if you think their average wage of $1.62 per hour is their value, please stop breathing. When we're hypnotized by a certain brand of shoes, why do we assume the inhuman brand has some ownership of the result of the labor required to produce their shoes? Without the designers, marketers, and grossly exploited factory workers, what would this so-called brand be? This isn't to say that a brand's corporate leadership has no contribution, although there's certainly a case to be made, but that their work is also work, when it is actually work. All human action toward changing human life for the better is work. The point is that their work is only work. It's just work done alongside every other worker who produces the value through their human activity. So why do some have so much more than they need, while others have so much less? Most people recognize that Kevin Gates' music will always be his value, not Atlantic Records. So why do they ignore or even deny that the result of their own work will always be their own value? Because of alienation. Because due to commodity fetishism, giving the commodities, or the result of human labor, an illusion of value separate from labor, small amounts of people are able to claim huge amounts of commodities, or the results of huge amounts of people's labor, as their own, as property. Because of this, they're able to exploit the actual value and claim its results as their own, while the workers have their value, their labor, held hostage, receiving only a placeholder symbol of the illusory value of commodities, or money, with which to feed and clothe themselves. This causes their work to lose purpose and satisfaction in most cases, and this loss is only intensified since the development of capitalism. Purpose and satisfaction become only a theory of life with more money, more capital, more illusory control over other beings. Inspiration becomes frustrated competition. What can my work do for my community? Becomes, when can it be my turn to have more than I need, to hoard resources? Because alienation separates the worker from the true purpose of their work, it has the added effect of redefining work. It is only done for our own pay. Our wage might benefit our family, but that's as far as it goes. Because of these conditions, it's not uncommon for workers to lose any interest in the effect their work has on society. Many, not all, but many, aren't thinking or don't care about the effect their work has at all. Obviously, this harms the quality of work and products, but more importantly, it harms the quality of life. The only improvement of life many of us work towards becomes our own life. Such a selfish intention as a driving purpose might not sound strange for those raised in severely alienating societies like mine, but it seems extremely strange as we begin to heal from alienation. How does this selfish intention for action make us any different from the activity of thieves we mentioned at the beginning? To repeat it, work as we've defined it is any human activity done with the intention of improving life, allowing us to live more happy and healthy. Thieves are human, they are making activity, and they intend to improve their lives through their action. Clearly, some distinction has to be made. The thief, acting only for their own benefit at the expense of others, enjoys a benefit in contradiction with the benefit of others. This makes the benefit unsustainable, because people will eventually seek revenge, and also incredibly impractical. If everyone did this, there would be severe scarcity and nothing left to steal. Therefore, work is an activity done with the intent of benefiting human life as a community, while selfish intentions are ultimately beneficial to no one, and their temporary self-benefit is in contradiction with other humans. So, commodity fetishism and the social effects of alienation give us the mentality of thieves. Our exploiters hoard unnecessary excesses of resources at our expense, while many of us seek our American dream of one day having our turn at hoarding resources and exploiting other humans, intentions in contradiction with humanity. This only pours fuel on the selfish, competitive, and unempathetic tendencies within humans. The human is transformed from the most unique being within our world, who lives for more than mere survival, to the most desperate and selfish of all other animals.
I ask, what was your happiest day?
Akafurahia maisha kwa kwanza kwa maana katika maana
Kulikuwa maana ndo abala kubao ngalu ngalu
kwa katika
kwa